Facebook ads daily metric sheet. This is probably one of my favorite spreadsheets, just because I'm very OCD. I'm very much about numbers. So this is very much up my wheelhouse, and I love to keep track of how everything's performing. So I'm just gonna go over kind of every column just to explain more how to utilize it. And a lot of this information you will be gathering from your Facebook ads account manager or business manager, I'm sorry, your email provider, whether that be ActiveCampaign or whatever other software you use. And then you will also be gathering information from your Schedule Ones and from Wufoo, since you are utilizing those to book your calls and to fill out the application. So down here, pretty self-explanatory. The first column is, you fill out the date. And this column here that is your ad spend. So your daily ad spend, you can, again, pull this number from your Facebook ads account manager. And you're just going to plug in, what it is that you're spending every day. In parentheses, it says F for Facebook. So let's say you launched ads on August 1st. And your ad spend that day was $25.25, right? Straightforward. Outbound clicks. You can gather this from Facebook. And all this information, even if it sounds extremely foreign to you guys, again, you can pull it out from your Facebook ads account manager. All you have to do is go to your custom fields, and you can literally pull these categories. It'll say your outbound clicks, it's going to have your opt-ins. It's also going to have your cost per lead, your applications, all that stuff. Really, you just have to filter it out. So if you don't see it first, there should be a tab that says performance. If you hit that in the drop-down menu, I don't have it up for the sake of examples here, but if you hit the drop-down menu, it should have a tab that says customize set. And then you can go ahead and start filtering out your search through that. So here, let's say your outbound clicks for the day, Facebook reported 23, right? So then you're gonna have that, and then this is gonna auto-populate. It's gonna tell you what your cost per outbound click came out to for the day. So for me, this day was $1.10, which is great. Kind of going into opt-ins. Again, you're gonna pull this from Facebook, and opt-in, self-explanatory. It's people that opted into your email list and all that jazz. So let's say that day I had, out of those 23 outbound clicks, I had 10 opt-ins. Opt-ins from CRM. So this information, this is where you're going to want to pull this from your email provider. So for us, we use ActiveCampaign. And so that's where I will pull that information from. How many emails I gathered on August 1st. So let's just say I gathered 7 of them, right? So then this is going to auto-populate your lead page conversion. So this here is telling me that my lead page is converting at 30%, 30.43% for the day. Not bad. And if you look down here, we've already set what the goal should be as far as like what your metrics should fall within what range. So your lead page conversion, a healthy range to fall within is 20 to 30%. If you notice here, I'm already at 30.43, which is great. That's the range that I want to be within. Same with your cost per lead up here. You want to have a healthy one that stays between $5 to $10 max. Your opt-ins to booking, meaning scheduling calls, you want to have that anywhere from 2 to 3%. And down here, your cost per application, you want to have that at least $200. If you can get it lower, even better, but 200 is kind of like the benchmark. Then here we have your show rate. This is 30%, it's set at 30%. There are things that you can tweak within your funnel to increase this number, but for the sake of just keeping the lowest estimate, you want to stick with 30%. And this number here, these two you're actually going to have to customize to what it is that you're selling. So here, this is your, your sales, your revenue. So it's dependent on how much you're selling your product. If you're selling your product at $2,000, you would put $2,000. And over on this tab, your cost per sale, this is your goal as to what your cost per sale is. So for instance, I definitely don't want it to be $2,400 because that would literally have me losing money. If I do have a product and it's selling at $2,000, let's just say ideally I want my goal to be $500 as far as my cost per sale or cost per acquisition, if you will. And I want to put that in there. So then we can go ahead and delete these numbers, or this part and that part. But that is there just to kind of help guide you so that you can see where you're at. The totals is essentially the average of how you're performing as a whole. So you can kind of compare their, what range you're falling within, and that's how you cross-reference those KPIs. So kind of going back up to these separate tabs. I believe we left off at let's just say lead page conversion. So again, I'm converting at 30.43%, which is great. The cost per lead, it pretty much already populated for me here, and that is 2.53. Cost per lead through my CRM, it populates again. So there's that. Moving on to strategy sessions booked. So for this one here, you are going to pull that information from your schedule ones. If you're not using schedule ones, then it's essentially the amount of bookings you had. How many people actually scheduled a call with you? Not filled out an application, solely, strictly just booked a call. So let's say I had one booking that day based on schedule ones. I would input that there. There we go. So then it's going to populate my opt-in to booking conversion. I'm converting at 14%. Again, if you look down here, the range, a healthy range or your goal should be within 2 to 3%. So, that's performing pretty well. My cost per strategy session booked auto populates as well. I'm at 25.25, which is not bad. Moving on to applications. So this you're going to pull from Facebook. Again, you'll see the little F there and it says Facebook, and it's under the category appointment schedule. So all this information is being gathered because of the pixels. So if everything is done correctly, then those numbers are going to populate for you. And technically, if I booked one strategy session and they went through my ad, then that should be one booking. It should match. Sometimes it may be off, it may not match, and that's generally because that booking came from organic and not an ad. So there is that. Applications. So this you would gather from your Wufoo. So this is the actual applications that were filled out for August 1st. So assuming that the customer that made a booking actually filled out an application, Wufoo would show me that I did have one for that day. So I would just input that there. So then my bookings to application conversion category auto-populates. It's saying I'm converting at 100%, which is fantastic. Then my cost per application, it's pretty healthy right now. It's saying I'm at 25.25. The goal is to have it at 200 absolute max. So there's that. Next, we move over to our strategy session attended. So this part here, all these tabs, you are probably going to have your sales team fill out for you, or at least report that information back to you. And essentially here, you are going to input whether the client actually showed up to the call or not. Now, for people that are scheduling and submitting applications, for the sake of this example, it was August 1st, more than likely they're not going to schedule their call for the same day that they are making the booking. So you would just input that information for whatever day they show up. So let's say they made the application and booking August 1st, but the call's actually scheduled for the 2nd, then you would fill that in tomorrow. Did they show up or not? If they did, you would input, one show. And then this will populate for you as far as like whether they showed up or not, your show rate percentage. After that, you go ahead and you write how many sales did you have. So the one person that showed up, were you able to close them? Were you not? If you did, great. You had one sale. And how much you generated from that sale. So, say your price point is $2,000. Did you sell it at $2,000? Did they do a split pay? If so, whatever cash you actually collected from them, that's what you would input there. So let's just say, for the sake of this example, the client actually paid in full, so I'm going to write $2,000. So all this stuff starts to auto-populate for you. It's showing me as of right now, my show rate is 100%, which is great. Oops, don't know how that happened. And it's showing here how my close rate, I'm at 100%. Everything just sort of populates for you. Same with your cost per sale. Once you start inputting more data, it's going to populate, as well as your return on ad spend. So that essentially just means how much what your ROI was on that ad spend. So technically, for the sake of this example, I've already spent 25.25 in ads. So my return on ad spend is 7,820%, which is fantastic. And then if you move it over a little more, here we have a breakdown as to where you can gather all this information. So for instance, let's look here. Ad spend, it's going to tell you your source, which is Facebook. And the category it's as, or the way it's listed on Facebook, is going to be amount spent. Your outbound clicks tab, which is this guy over here, this guy. I listed here your source as to where you get that information. Again, it's Facebook, and under the custom filter, you can search your outbound clicks, and that's the name it's going to be under. It's not, yeah. Then you have your opt-ins, and again, that's your source is going to be from a Facebook standard event, and your opt-ins are actually going to be listed on Facebook as subscribe. It's weird. I'm not sure why the names don't align, but Facebook calls them subscribes. We call them opt-ins. So hopefully that doesn't throw you off. Then your opt-ins from your CRM, your source would be ActiveCampaign or whatever email host you utilize. Strategy sessions booked. Again, you're going to pull that from schedule ones. This tab that says applications with the F-appointment schedule. Again, you're going to pull this from your Facebook standard event, and it's going to be under schedule. So that's another one that's the names don't align, but essentially under Facebook applications, it's called schedule. Then applications CRM, the source where you're going to pull that information from is Wufoo. And then we have strategy sessions attended, sales number, and sales dollar amount. That we don't have a source because it's either going to be yourself if you're doing these calls or your sales team. So as a whole, that's just kind of the breakdown as to how this spreadsheet works. And you want to have a new one for every month. And this is really great to reference daily. I look at ours every single day. Just because I like to see how things are performing. And it's a great way to be very unbiased and unemotional about these things. It's very factual. Numbers do not lie. So really reference the numbers. You might think one day didn't perform as, that great, but when you really look at the data and the numbers, maybe you're converting at a higher percentage. Maybe your show rate is at a 70%, or your cost per application is trending at like 150. That's pretty healthy. So just look at the numbers, always reference that, because that's really going to be indicative of how your ads are performing and how you're doing for your business. So I hope this is very helpful. I hope I was pretty clear on this. If you guys have any questions, always submit a support ticket and we're here to help.